My friends and I had been planning the cruise for almost a year. It was supposed to be a carefree girls' trip before my best friend Mia started nursing school. There were 4 of us: Mia, Chloe, Jenna, and me. I was 26 at the time, and honestly, I needed the vacation more than anyone. The ship itself looked unreal when we boarded. Huge glass walls, music playing near the pool deck, workers handing out drinks before we'd even found our rooms. The first day felt perfect. We explored the ship, took pictures at sunset, and stayed out near the upper deck until almost midnight. That's when I noticed him. At first, he didn't seem strange. Just a tall guy, maybe in his 30s, standing near the railing watching the ocean. But when we moved to another part of the deck, he eventually appeared there too. "Maybe he just keeps ending up near us," Jenna said when I mentioned it. I laughed it off because I didn't want to sound paranoid. But the next morning, he was outside the breakfast buffet. That afternoon, I saw him sitting alone near the pool while we swam. That night, he stood outside the elevator doors when we came back from dinner. He never spoke to us, never smiled. He'd just stare for a second too long before looking away. By the 3rd day, all of my friends noticed him too. "Okay, that's definitely the same guy," Mia whispered while we were walking through the casino. The worst part was how calm he looked. He never acted aggressive, never approached us directly. He just always seemed to know where we were. That night we went to a comedy show, hoping maybe we were overthinking things. Halfway through, Chloe squeezed my arm hard enough to hurt. 3 rows behind us, the man was sitting alone. I felt sick. We left before the show ended and practically speed-walked back toward our rooms. The hallway leading to our cabin was quiet, except for the hum of the ship engines beneath the floor. When we turned the corner, the man was already standing near our door. Every one of us froze. He slowly looked up at us, but didn't move. "What the hell?" Jenna muttered. I remember my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Mia immediately pulled out her phone while Chloe told him we were calling security. The man suddenly walked away without saying a word. Not ran, not hurried, just calmly disappeared around the corner. We reported him immediately. Security took it seriously once they reviewed the hallway cameras and realized how many times he'd been near us throughout the cruise. Apparently, he'd been reported before by another group of women earlier that week. The crew moved us to another floor temporarily while they investigated. The next morning, security informed us the man had been confined to his cabin until the ship returned to port because they believed he'd been intentionally following female passengers. The rest of the trip felt tense after that. Every time I heard footsteps behind me, I'd look over my shoulder expecting to see him again. Even now, whenever I think about cruises, I don't remember the beaches or the food. I remember opening that hallway corner and seeing him standing outside our cabin door waiting for us. I went on a cruise alone after a rough breakup. I figured 7 days in the middle of the ocean would help clear my head. The first 2 days were perfect. Buffets, pool decks, stupid karaoke shows. Then I noticed him. The first time was outside the elevator on deck 9. Tall guy, gray hoodie despite the heat, staring at me without blinking. I looked away, but when the elevator opened, he stepped in behind me. "You're in 914, right?" he asked quietly. My stomach tightened. I never told anyone my room number. I laughed nervously and said, "Nope," before getting off 2 floors early, just to lose him. I waited by the casino for almost 20 minutes before going back to my room. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to soft knocking. 3 taps, then silence. I checked the peephole, expecting drunk passengers. Nobody was there. The hallway lights flickered slightly as the ship rocked. I opened the door a crack anyway. Nothing. But taped to the floor was a napkin with one sentence written in messy handwriting. "You shouldn't lie." I barely slept after that. The next morning, I went to guest services and explained everything. They said they'd look into it, but the employee sounded more annoyed than concerned. That evening, I saw him again during dinner. Same hoodie, same blank stare. He was standing outside the restaurant entrance watching me eat. I left early and hurried back to my cabin. The hallway was empty except for a cleaning cart near my door. As I unlocked the room, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, calm. I turned around and saw him at the far end of the hallway. He smiled, not friendly, more like he already knew something I didn't. I rushed inside and locked the door. A few seconds later, the handle moved. very slowly, once, twice, then harder. I froze. The voice came through the door almost like a whisper. "I just want to come in." I called security immediately, but before they arrived, the banging stopped. When security checked the cameras later, they told me something that made my blood run cold. Nobody was outside my cabin. No man in a hoodie appeared on the footage at all. But they did see my door unlocking by itself at 2:13 a.m. and opening halfway before suddenly slamming shut. I demanded a room change immediately. The staff moved me to another deck. The next morning, I found out cabin 914 had been empty for some time now. Once I got home, I did some research, and what I read made my body freeze once again. A passenger disappeared there during a storm a few years back. I went on a cruise to celebrate graduating college with 2 friends. The trip was supposed to be relaxing, pool parties, late-night buffets, and way too many frozen drinks. The first few days were perfect. Then someone started getting into our cabin. At first, we thought we were imagining things. Small stuff kept moving around. My makeup bag would be in a different spot. One of my friend's jackets disappeared, and then randomly showed up folded on the chair later that night. We blamed housekeeping. But on the 4th night, things got creepy. We came back from dinner around 11 p.m. and found the bathroom light on. We always turned every light off before leaving because my friend hated wasting electricity. Then we noticed my suitcase had been opened. Nothing was stolen, but everything inside had clearly been searched through. That's when we got nervous. We called guest services, but they said housekeeping probably entered for cleaning or maintenance. It didn't really make sense because the room had already been cleaned earlier that morning. So that night, before leaving for a show, I did something smart. I took a small piece of tissue paper and wedged it into the top of the cabin door so it would fall if someone opened it. When we came back later that night, the tissue was gone. Someone had definitely entered. My stomach dropped immediately. We checked the room carefully, and at first everything seemed normal. Then my friend opened the closet and screamed. There was a man crouched inside. He shoved past her so hard she hit the wall. I'll never forget how calm his face looked as he ran for the door like he'd done this before. My other friend reacted fast and slammed the cabin door shut before he could escape completely. His arm got caught halfway and he started panicking, trying to force the door open. I grabbed the emergency phone and called security while my friend held the door with all her weight. The man finally broke free and sprinted down the hallway, but security caught him 2 decks below trying to hide in a public restroom. Turns out, he was another passenger staying on deck 7. The craziest part was how he got into rooms. Earlier in the cruise, he'd apparently been watching people type their cabin codes on the crew access laundry room doors. Those codes were similar to emergency override codes used on older cabin locks. Somehow he'd figured out a way to trick certain faulty doors into reopening. After security investigated, they discovered he'd entered at least 6 cabins during the trip, mostly women staying alone or in small groups. The cruise line removed him from the ship at the next port, and the rest of us were moved to upgraded cabins with brand new electronic locks. For the rest of the cruise, security guards stayed posted near our hallway all night. I barely slept after that. But honestly, the thing that scares me most is realizing we only caught him because of that tiny piece of tissue paper. Otherwise, we probably would have gone to sleep that night with him still hiding in our closet.